Good morning, coffee moaners. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are we all? Welcome to Friday. What a weird day yesterday was, wasn't it? It was like a sort of wintry day in the middle of sun and summer. How are we all? How is everyone? How are you doing? Hashtag fuck off Friday. That's what I say. Morning, Margaret O'Brien. Morning, Stuart G, Ellery Jones, all the usuals if you're listening on podcast. I'm now going to freak you out because I want to kick off the proceedings with this. I'm just fascinated by this. See what you make of this. Sorry, off the back of a very challenging mental health week. Anyone who's listening, the country pumpkin, not entirely sure I was ready for that first thing. Welcome to the mind of a bipolar nutcase. It's horrible, to be honest. Yeah, I have to say there was a young boy that won. Did he win this? Maybe there's how many seagull singing championships are there? Teeny tiny lass, not helping my hangover. Zoe Agnew, so random. Welcome to my mind. It just struck me as absolutely necessary to play that. Symptoms of serious mental illness, perhaps. I think so, and also the desire to play it. If you're listening on podcast, apologies, that will have hurt your ears. Charlotte Graceable, of course you can get a shout out. Don't play any more seagull idiots. Maybe we'd all feel better if we pretended to be birds. Maybe it's the answer to everything. Absolutely. Anyway, good morning. God, can I just ask a quick question? We're going to talk about a number of things. We're going to be talking about, there's a news story. Wes Streeting, I hate to say it, I really don't like him. I find him really supercilious. And the discussions that I hear about him potentially being the new leader of the Labour Party, it's just like, oh my God, drab followed by drab. But anyway, Streeting is part of an announcement to talk about how kids are going to be taught how to develop grit. They're going to be taught grit, true grit. They're going to be taught how to toughen up and get grit. We need to give them some grit. And I'd like you to have a think about that. How would you go about teaching children grit? I think, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. We're also going to talk about the Eurovision Israel dilemma. I think Israel last night qualified for the Eurovision finals. Michu, you might explain it every single time. I don't get why or how Israel are in there as a purely geographical detail. I mean, I suppose you could argue that Cyprus's culpability in allowing the RAF to monitor Gaza would almost just drag Israel into Europe, but okay, Eurovision, clearly it's about more than just being part of Europe. We're going to talk very briefly, because it's making me, obviously, the seriousness of the crime, before we have any do-gooders trying to kind of suggest, are you making light of arson? Not making light of arson at all, very serious crime. But it just strikes me as curious that the arsonist who attacked Keir Starmer's flat pad home, which he's letting out whilst residing in 10 Downing Street, was Ukrainian. But I'd just like you to just toy with this thought just for a moment. What would the headlines be if he was Muslim? Where would we be? What would be happening right now? And very briefly, a statement has been made by Justin Bieber's team regarding the Diddy trial, which is obviously ongoing and is a massive deal in America. It's a massive trial. not being televised, but lots and lots of news outlets are covering it, etc., etc. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you again for all of your messages rolling in under the various posts that I've popped on Instagram. Your continuing messages here, all really, really appreciated. Thank you. I am going to be doing a chat with Bipolar at noon on Instagram, so that's all good too. Is the Eurovision Song Contest this weekend? Do you know what? I can't stand Eurovision. I find it, the only thing I like about it, or used to like about it as a kid, was Terry Wogan's commentary. I liked it when it was, the piss was taken out of it. And I know Graham Norton strives to take the piss out of it, but I think the Eurovision has hit a turning point where even in Graham Norton, I don't know if he still does it, trying to take the piss, that's the attempt to make it somehow cool and relevant. And it just isn't. But it's symbolic, isn't it? It's like it's a bellwether thing. It's a sort of, I mean, has a good song come out of mind you, having said that, I seem to remember the girls saying there was a good song that came out a couple of years ago. Do you guys like it? Just tell me, tell us straight. Are you a fan of Eurovision? I mean, for me, I was always fascinated by the scoring when I was young, Nil Point and all that kind of stuff. I used to get, I think the kind of, you know, I mean, what my neurodiversity, let's put it politically correctly, my neurodiversity made me fascinated by the scoring. But then I saw a reel, or I saw a film, behind the scenes film the other day, that just shows that each judge just rocks into a green screened room and gives their score, and they're not really in the country that they're in. I think my membership lapsed. Said, oh, I thought you meant of Eurovision. No, don't like it, Deirdre. I think it's fun and a laugh, says Gabrielle. Eurovision lost its luster in the 70s. It's supposed to be about peace, love, and happiness. So let's maybe start with this. And I think, you know, Russia invaded Ukraine, and Russia was banned because people were upset that Russia was aggressive. And Israel are committing a genocide. It strikes me that really, I think it's kind of a given, isn't it, that Israel shouldn't be allowed. It's not about whether the individual singer is representative of a genocide, and I don't think it's necessarily about punishing all Israelis for Netanyahu's brand of Israel's genocide. But in a competition, which, let's not beat around the bush, is all about peace, love, and gentleness, and music, and da-da-da-da, I hate to, and when certain leading individuals in Netanyahu's Israel use this as a sort, use Eurovision as a sort of as an example of normalizing Israeli foreign policy, I think you have to do something. And I think if lots of other countries involved in the competition are anti their involvement, I think the discussion has to be had. They're committing a genocide. You know, let's not beat around the bush anymore. Every major aid agency has said it. The International Criminal Court is being hampered by America and the slow movement of other countries to arrive at its judgment. Israel's preventing any adequate, accurate assessment. We have a population about to starve, or is starving. They're not starving because of the weather. They're starving because Netanyahu won't allow any aid in, with the constant excuse of Hamas. I mean, it's become so tedious and so predictable, it's ridiculous. Even Donald Trump this morning has said this. And I mean, we've got to take everything Trump says with a pinch of salt. Trump says, God, give him a, his IQ is just, a lot of people are starving in Gaza. Wow, God, has this reached you as well, Donald? Donald Trump on Friday said the United States would have the situation in Gaza taken care of. The worry with Trump is there's so many double meanings. Taken care of. Wouldn't it be lovely? I'll tell you what, look, let's just, for the sake of it, you know, if Donald Trump said he'd take care of the starving by bypassing Israel and giving them all food, and then talking to the Arab nations saying, right, let's rebuild this strip with Arab help for Palestinian people and Muslims, and just cut Israel out, I would champion him. It would be the greatest thing he's ever done. Happy birthday, Sharon. It would be the greatest thing he's ever done. But I can't ever help but feel that Trump's one of those narcissists who just says what he thinks the people in front of him want to hear. So once he's in the Gulf states, he tells them, wow, that's perfecto, your marble. And when he's in Israel, oh, you got such a lovely face, Bibi, Bibi. You know, He compliments whoever's in front of him. To be fair, because everyone's complimenting him, I suppose. So anyway, going back to Eurovision, they're committing a genocide. They're starving a nation. I don't think they should be allowed. I think it's a very small sacrifice. But of course, if you say that, you're going to be called anti-Semitic. You may even be described as a member of Hamas. I mean, it's quite remarkable, isn't it? It's quite tedious. I mean, is it David Mercer, the guy who gets trotted out to speak for Benjamin Netanyahu? Did you know that repulsive individual who just spouts propagandist lies used to be, I think he might have been the head of Labour Friends of Israel. I mean, that's how potentially compromised by the lobby groups, I think, our government is. Charlotte Graceable, I think the Seagull people at the beginning of this have more sense than Trump. What you're saying is you want me to play the clip again? Shall I play the clip again? I don't think we want to listen to Seagulls. I think we'd much rather listen to Donald Trump. Anyway, I mean, but here's the thing. Behind the Eurovision, I find this kind of interesting. Baked into the concept of Eurovision is the European Broadcasting Union, which kind of looks after it. And I didn't realize that historically, the setting up of the Eurovision Song Contest, the European Broadcasting Union was founded in 1950. It had a technical and a political remit. Technically, the project, the whole Eurovision concept, was about sharing ideas and enabling international broadcasts, the song contest just being one part of it. And apparently, Eurovision was one strand of the European Broadcast Union's trying to support state-run public service broadcasting. So baked into the original idea of this was an idea that this was a competition from the European Broadcasting, what's it called? The European Broadcasting Union. This was a competition that was to kind of, in a sense, promote the merits of public service broadcasters like the BBC. More often than not, they're more liberal kind of orientated broadcasters. The problem with this in Israel is that the broadcaster that was originally broadcasting, what was it? The Old Israel Broadcasting Authority, IBA, Benjamin Netanyahu abolished it. So, before we hear again from sort of various Israeli government officials that this is a democracy, it's not really, is it? It's not really a democracy. It's certainly not a democracy if you're Arab. It's certainly not a democracy if you're Palestinian. It's not a democracy if you are of certain strands of Orthodox Judaism that doesn't believe in, fighting, killing, occupying. It's also not a democracy if you are anti the government. It's not a democracy if you're the head of the Interior Secret Intelligence Service that disagrees with Netanyahu and you're fired. It's not a democracy. Don't let this line that it's a democracy. It's not. It's not. So even the original remit of the Eurovision, which was in a sense to kind of look after and champion public service broadcasters that are willing to question their own governments, even that falls apart because Israel no longer has the same channel that was there in the first place. So it falls down at every single hurdle. That's it. So I personally think okay, yes or no, Israel should be banned from the Eurovision Song Contest. Yes or no? Yes or no? For me, it feels so straightforward. It makes me mad. Yes or no? And whilst you're answering that, we'll move on to the chap who's been charged with setting fire to Starmer's gaffe. Scotland Yard last night charged a man with arson. And I think we were all waiting a little bit with bated breath. I'm sure I felt the mainstream media were waiting with extraordinarily bated breath to see what the makeup of this person would be. Lots of yeses there for Israel not taking part. So this chap is called Roman Lavrenovich. He's a 21-year-old Ukrainian national who lives in Sydenham, not a million miles away from here, charged with 3 counts of arson. I would be lying if I didn't say, as I said on our coffee moaning story, I could feel the palpable disappointment of the mainstream media when the identity revealed. how much more would the papers have loved it if he had been Muslim? What do you think would have happened if the person had been Muslim? Quite astonishing. I think it's just something. There's not really a lot more to say. This is the guy who's been charged. He's done it. Lots of people who know him are very surprised. He's due to appear in Westminster's Magistrate Court, I think today, is it, or maybe next Friday. He's a very sort of young, ordinary-looking chap. And yeah, they're going to, the Metropolitan Police Service's Counter-Terrorism Command have authorized criminal charges against the 21-year-old. But imagine, let's just imagine jihad on our streets, Nikki. But what would give us some of what would the potential headlines have been? And this is the problem with the likes of Reform and all that lot. They desperately wanted this guy to be a Muslim. They desperately wanted this to concur with some kind of screwed up, fucked up stereotypes so that culture wars could carry on. But this is an inconvenience, this detail, which is why, as a story, it will fall down the news headlines. I mean, all the papers have to report it because it's our Prime Minister's gaffe that was set on fire. But it will fall out of the mainstream news as fast as you can as fast as you can squeal like a seagull. Doesn't make sense, Northern. So it wouldn't make sense if anyone did it. It wouldn't make sense at all. We're not suggesting it should have been, could have been, it might have been. But as it landed, you went to all of the news gathering, you went to the Telegraph, you went to the Mail, and you were like, bet you're a little bit disappointed there. Eh? So there we go. He was a Ukrainian national. We haven't been at all hesitant about Ukrainian migration, have we? At all. There's a justified migrant or asylum seeker, and then there are unjustified asylum seekers. Interesting. Okay, let's talk about kids being taught grit. Who likes the idea of that title? Who thinks the title, the idea of teaching our kids grit is a good thing? This is a campaign, or this is basically an idea or something that Bridget Phillipson and the Education Secretary and Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, have said that children need to be more prepared for life's ups and downs in the classroom. I agree. I think all of our jobs as parents is to help our kids deal with the ups and downs. But what are those ups and downs? Who is going to be steering them through how to deal with them? What's the condition? To what extent is steering, say, Johnny versus Susie versus Jemima and Tarquin, all from different kind of walks of life? Do you escort them through the ups and downs in the same way? Kids to be taught grit, true grit, to be stronger, more resilient, to be able to kind of cope with the shit that life throws at you. Gritty. My worry about this is whose idea of grit are we talking about here? Your idea of grit? It's not my idea of grit. What you value and what you believe one should get over isn't necessarily what I believe my kids should necessarily get over. Yeah, to meet you, Tarquin's private grit, little Johnny, state grit. In this world right now, grit is going to be baked in. I'd like to see the likes of Wes Streeting as a wibbly wobbly teenager now, rather than when he was a wibbly wobbly teenager. You can't apply the same set of rules. I think what you can do is try and remove some of the obvious stresses that kids and youngsters are facing. which are things like being tested every 6 seconds, parents getting you going to fucking tutors and social media pressures and perfection. And, there's no prospect ever of kind of getting a pension or getting a mortgage, or, what's the point of a job if it doesn't actually lead to that? And you do a degree and you've got 45, 50,000 pounds of debt. There's no guarantee of any luck. What? Go fuck yourself with your grit. What is grit? There isn't one size fits all. And I think the great big problem with an entire generation and all our generations is we have a great big system that tries to make us all uniform. DP, totally agree, Mark. Private boarding schools have abused children. Should they teach grit? Well, you could argue. There are boarding school teachers who total grit. There's nothing grittier than having no parents. You don't want a parent. You don't want to cuddle from your mum. You don't want to be soft soaked and kind of made to feel all fluffy and fluffy. It's just more fucking generational bullshit that doesn't acknowledge that actually modern life doesn't suit humans. It's as simple as that. We can all keep plowing on, but there will come a point where we will literally, like I did, where we'll all have an ADHD, bipolar, metaphorically, breakdown. Everyone just goes, pfft. You just can't do it. You can't cram everything into a human, demand everything of a human, reward them with nothing other than maybe a holiday where your flight gets cancelled and, you're kind of hated on the beach because the country you're going to, all their population has been fucking dehoused. How about making life better for people so having grit isn't so important? Stop going after the people, says Nikki Bull, who are struggling with this horrible world. How about one thing that might make us not need to give youngsters grit is not having total arsewipes who lack any form of empathy or sophistication or emotional intelligence as politicians. Maybe if we don't have the like of Wes Streeting with his equivalent to Starmer's inexpressive facial inexpressions, rather than having these kind of fucking politicians saying how to do things. They don't understand anything. Everyone is overwhelmed democratically. Everyone. So when you come out with this bollocks, children to be taught to show grit, what the fuck does that mean? So some classroom interventions. Mark Labour's latest effort to crack down on worklessness, which in part is fueled by a surge in mental health problems since the pandemic. You're not allowed a mental health problem. You can't. In Mental Health Awareness Week, has our education minister and our health minister really basically said true grit, strength, grit, sort of determination, sort of, backbone. That's what grit is, the ability to kind of graft through stuff. This agony, I can get through this. Is that really what they're saying in Mental Health Awareness Week? We need to show you how to develop grit. Sorry, we're run by wankers. Totally run by wankers. I just, poor mental health, yes, has been blamed for school absence levels. Maybe school, no criticism of teachers here. Teachers are trying to do a sterling job, but maybe school is part of the problem. Maybe going to school for some kids is like asking them to put their hands in a fire because the system can't accommodate any kind of modulation or difference or variety. How can you say we are all? How can you say we are all meant to be the same? Yeah, good point, Mitra. How does the worklessness tally with the 8 million jobs to be lost over the next decade? What are you going to do? This is ridiculous. You're shoveling more and more people towards less and less. But keep going to university, because if you don't, the universities are. It's a totally fucked system. I mean, it really is. The whole system is fucked. Basically, Nicky Bull, put up and shut up is what they're saying, because nothing is going to get any better. Yeah, exactly. What are you going to do for me? What are you going to do, Wes Streeting? Just going to talk in that really annoying voice, which is a little bit like Keir Starmer's annoying voice. You're not going to change anything. You're just going to say, get on with it. Oh, all right, okay. Yeah. School is failing all my 4 grandchildren, says Helen Groves, in different ways. So wrong. I'm so sorry to hear that, Helen. And again, it's not the teachers' faults. Teachers, teachers are working in ever, more and more restrictive and diminishing circumstances. Fewer choices, fewer options. Cheryl Jones, say the Ponzi privileged MPs that don't set foot in a class. It's like we still live in wartime, says Gabrielle, with headlines like that. I know, we're going to get back to the Victorian idea of the deserving poor and the undeserving poor. Oh, well, you're allowed to be poor if you've literally given yourself every disease under the sun and worked your legs until they can't move anymore because you tried to do something worthy. Oh, you're deserving poor. You can have 50 pence. There you go. Oh, fucking hell. I keep pressing the wrong button. Elizabeth Millett, could you please do a chat around your thoughts on this new welfare in schools bill, please, Mark? Yes, I know that a number, actually, that's a good reminder. I don't know the absolute details of the bill, but I do know that there is an attempt by the government to increase the bar to an even more onerous level for parents who want to homeschool. Homeschooling is going to be made infinitely more difficult if the welfare bill goes through. Obviously, there are. I've always said there are natural safety measures that need to be in place when we schooled our girls. The council, we would touch base with them once every 6 months or so, and you've got nothing to hide. You've got nothing to hide. But the government really wants to take control of even how you teach or homeschool your children, which is wrong. Plain and simply, it is wrong. I mean, we have fewer and fewer rights to step out of the system. And of course, they have a vested interest in that, because more people who step out of the system, the more people will be critical of the system or self-critical, or will have the ability to, oh my God, have critical thinking. So they are wanting to. Cheryl Jones, I could bang on all day after working in primary schools for 10 years, and my daughter is a teacher. I mean, I don't understand why the government, do you agree with this, Cheryl? I don't understand why the government doesn't, rather than seeking to make it more difficult for homeschoolers, why they don't actually have a policy. It would take the pressure off state schools. Let's not forget, homeschoolers more often than not aren't, their national insurance and tax, whatever else they've paid. You're not indulging in the state. You're often laying out cash for more classes and tutors and paying for taking whatever kind of non-curriculum based qualifications, or some kids do IGCSEs and all this kind of stuff. Why doesn't the government work with, why don't they incentivize more parents who can to home educate? Why would you not embrace that? Take the pressure off the schools that can then provide for those families who absolutely can't home educate, rather than just making everyone feel a bit like they're doing something wrong, which is what was happening with us with homeschooling. And if there are any homeschoolers here, it's what they do. They try and, there's just the suggestion that you're trying to, Hi, Dawny. I'm doing the bipolar chat at noon, Dawny, if you're around on Instagram. It's just depressing, isn't it? It's just depressing. Anyway, I wanted to show you this clip. This is a chap. This is an influencer this is a bit of a leap to the right, but this is a chap in America. He's talking about how the whole issue with America's support of Israel and its kind of seeking to stop any kind of questioning political opinions, anyone protesting, anyone dissent. I mean, I was reading a piece yesterday that clearly states in interviews with immigration officials in America, say me or Nadia very heavily would run the risk of not getting into America now because of our, for want of a better expression, activism for Palestine. That's how undemocratic things are. But this chap who's an influencer, I forget his name, but he's interesting. He posts a lot of stuff about politics in America, but he's walking around New York. Listen to this.
Guys, the collapse is fully imminent, and if you don't believe me, walk outside. I am walking through Chinatown, Little Italy right now, usually absolutely packed to the gills. There is almost no one around. Tourism is plunging in America. Any city that relies on being even remotely appealing to an outside visitor is going to have its economy crater now, right? Places like Las Vegas, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Miami. Who would come here if they could get arrested at the airport or sent to El Salvador? I mean, we were never the most appealing country, but we've really done a good job of turning it into diarrhea under this administration. I mean, you know, you look around, I just gave a tour to like 3 people, you know, which is staggeringly low considering this is approaching peak tourist season. And people are like, where are all the people? And I'm like, I don't know, probably your hometown. Thank you for coming. Thank you for ignoring the news. Do you get the news? Like, it's, you know, when someone's like, I'm in New York, I'm like, really? It's pretty staggering how quickly we have become a pariah. And if you don't believe me, walk outside, see for yourself. No one's around.
It's quite amazing, isn't it? Thank you, Michi, for some stats there. US travel, pop these up, hotel bookings minus 6.1%, airline tickets minus 6.9%, air booking fees minus 1.4%. I mean, the prices of tickets to America are going down, interestingly. But the ability to get in, if you've expressed any criticism of Trump or any criticism of America's support of Israel or any criticism of Israel, is quite staggering. And even when me and my mother traveled last year, on the, is it the ETSA visa, which is the tourist visa that you have to kind of online apply and pay for and get, they put on that, I think it's now mandatory. They put, do you have a social media platform? What are they? Do you have anything to tell us? And there was a piece in The Guardian yesterday talking to immigration officials in the States saying quite specifically that they have the right, when you land in America, you're kind of outside of most human rights things. I mean, I used to get carted off to, not detention, but I used to get carted off all the time because years ago I had a full working American working visa, which lasted some years. And that passport got stolen. And then I had to have it reissued. So every time I was checking into America, you know, quite rightly, their customs, their immigration would be like, you've got there's another visa out there somewhere. Could you be a dupe and all that? And I'd always have to go off it and take ages. But now, I mean, they can literally check your phone. They can take your phone off you. The recommendation is to keep it on airplane settings. They're not allowed to. But I mean, you know, you're taken into security. You can be taken to a detention center. So lots of people are choosing not to go there because they're worried. But then lots of other people obviously are not going there because it's a sort of boycott. So, yeah, I love that the USA, Nikki Bull, is being boycotted by everyone. Keep getting ads for US travel all over my social media all of a sudden. Yeah, it's suddenly, I mean, the irony is you could probably get quite a good deal now to get to New York for, you know, and I wonder what the impact, like that chap was saying, the impact on businesses out there is quite staggering. I also want to play you this clip, seeing as we're on a bit of a political bent. I just want to find out his name because he's so brave. He deserves a shout out. So bear with me 1 second. This young student, this is a New York University student called Logan Rosos. Very, very brave. He was awarded his, during his graduation speech, he said this.
And freaking out a lot about this speech, honestly. And as I search my heart today in addressing you all, my moral and political commitments guide me to say that the only thing that is appropriate to say in this time and to a group this large is a recognition of the atrocities currently happening in Palestine. I want to say that the genocide currently occurring is supported politically and militarily by the United States, is paid for by our tax dollars, and has been live streamed to our phones for the past 18 months. And that I do not wish to speak only to my own politics today, but to speak for all people of conscience, all people who feel the moral injury of this atrocity. And I want to say that I condemn this genocide and complicity in this genocide.
You'll be interested to know that in response to him making that speech, Logan Rosos was then the New York University then announced that it would withhold his diploma. Wow. And would pursue further disciplinary action. It's a democracy, guys. So the New York University, where he's won his diploma, they're going to withhold it as punishment, and they're going to pursue further disciplinary action. Now, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Donald Trump would seek to have him excommunicated, sent to the tower, and or Guantanamo. I mean, we're getting to a situation where what is he going to do? He's reopening Alcatraz, isn't he? New York University. I mean, theoretically, when one sort of knows the states as well as I've traveled around most of it. New York is considered to be liberal, intellectual. I mean, obviously you get total wankers there. Look at Trump. But do you get me? I mean, New York University. Wow. Withhold his diploma for condemning a genocide, for having an opinion. Donny Harvey, what a brave man, isn't he? He really is. I was going to talk about Bieber and Diddy, but I don't know. Well, okay, I'll read just what he said. Justin Bieber finally breaks silence on the Diddy abuse allegations in order to deny that Bieber was a victim as the rapper stands trial for sex trafficking. A spokesperson for Justin Bieber said, although Justin is not among Sean Combs's victims, there are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him. Shifting focus away from this reality detracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. And this is the suggestion. His representatives also suggesting that all that footage that's been shown around of what looked sort of slightly compromising was performative, that they worked together only professionally, etc., etc. Yeah, the Diddy trial. I mean, Zoe, you say you're becoming obsessed with it. It's interesting, isn't it? I think Whitney Houston got caught up in. They were talking about Whitney Houston yesterday. They were talking about Puff Diddy. Did he relapse? Not relapse, or overdose or something. Recently, I mean, it's gonna for sure. I mean, I think they say it's going to last about 4 weeks. Is it the entire trial? It's certainly going to get quite testy as more and more famous names get pulled into the frame. So yes, there's a brilliant newscast podcast, isn't there? I think is it the BBC are running a newscast podcast. Bun TV, speaking back to the ability to voice your opposition to the genocide. Bun TV. A good friend lives in Pennsylvania and said the general feeling in America at the moment is frightening, very aggressive. She works in a school and staff are penalized for being inclusive. DP, there's been so much speculation. Read Bieber. For years, he finally responded. Amber Grindley, disgusting. We have no freedom of speech. Well, interestingly, Amber, I hope you're well. Send my love to Richard. I saw him flying past. Every time I see him online, he's moving so quickly. The weird thing is we have freedom of speech as long as it's not about something we don't want to hear. Freedom of speech, unless it's freedom of speech about something like Palestine, then everyone doesn't want you to have freedom of speech. It's very odd, isn't it? So, sorry, I don't know what happened to my throat there. So there you go, guys. As I say, I'm going to be with Bipolar at noon on Insta. Something else. Oh, there's a home time landing later today, this evening. And other content is bubbling around. There's going to be a Gaza upload. There's going to be a Trump's America upload. Obviously, this has been a bit of what they call a lumpy week, shall we say. But once again, thank you so much for all of your messages. Sophia Lopez, thank you for your very encouraging messages there too. Okay, guys, have a good Friday. I hope it stays nice where you are. I personally can't stand the sun, but I don't want to piss on anyone else's parade. So have a